Now class 12th D student, today I'll teach history and chapter is chapter 3rd, kinship, caste and class, early societies between 600 BCE to 600 CE or 600 BC to 600 AD. And in this chapter we will study the critical addition of the Mahabharata, kinship and marriage, many rules and various practices about the families, the ideal of patrilineal, rules of marriage, the gotra of women, how important were mothers in this period. This period starts from the 600 BC to 600 AD. In this period, the most important is about Mahabharata. It is one of the most colossal epic of the subcontinent. The epic, running in its present form, has more than 10,000, about 1 lakh verses, and depicts a wide range of social categories and situations. The central story of Mahabharata is about the two sets of warring cousins. This epic also contains different sections lying between norms of behavior for different social groups. The principle of characters of this epic occasionally seem to follow these norms. According to the ideal of patrilineal, sons of a person could control all of his assets. Thrones are also included in the contest of kings. Mahabharata is a story of changing relations. This story describes a conflict over land and power between two groups of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. They belonged to a single ruling family of Kurus, with a lineage dominating one of the Janpadas. In the end, this conflict ended in the battle in which the Pandavas emerged victorious. Sons were and in fact are important for the continuation of the patrilineage, but daughters were viewed differently within this framework. Daughters had no claim to the resources of the household. 8 forms of marriage have been recognized in Dharma Shastras, Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras. First out of these 8 were considered as good, while the remaining 4 were condemned. Probably there were practices by those who refused to accept. Probably out of 8, 4 were practiced by civilized people and 4 were civilized, or you can say who obeyed the Brahmin rules and regulation, and 4 were practiced by those who refused to accept Brahminical norms. One Brahminical practice evident from 100 BCE onwards was to classify people in terms of gotra. Each gotra was named after the name of a Vedic seer or rishi, and the people belonged to same gotra were regarded as his descendants, and there was a restriction of intermarriage among the same gotra, because people of one gotra were supposed to be just like brothers and sisters. There were 2 important rules of gotra. Women were expected to adopt gotra of their husband after their marriage. Second, members of the same gotra could not marry with each other. Now next, Satvana rulers were identified through their metronymics. Means they used to write, there was a matrilineal society, they used to write the title of their mother, although this may suggest that mothers were important. But we need to take notice of the fact that succession to the throne was generally patrilineal. Although mother was important, but succession to the throne was patrilineal. There was mention of an ideal system in the Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras, which was based on class. According to it, there were 4 classes or varnas in the society. Brahmins were given the highest status in such society. It has been written in Shastras that only Kshatriyas could be kings. but many important ruling lineages probably had different origins. Here we can take example of the Mauryan dynasty. Brahmanas considered Shakas as Mlekshas, barbarians or outsiders who came from Central Asia, but according to one of the earliest inscriptions in Sanskrit, Rudradaman, the best known Shaka ruler, rebuilt Sudarshan Lake. It suggests that powerful Mlekshas were aware about Sanskritic traditions. Society was classified on the basis of caste used in Shastras. In Brahminical theory, Jati, like Varna, was also based on birth. However, the Varna were four in number, but there was no such restriction on the number of Jatis. Jatis sharing a common occupation were sometimes organized into Shrenis or guilds. Membership of guilds was based on the specialization of craft, such as barbers, oilmen, then carpenters, blacksmith, goldsmith, etc. Brahmanas considered some people as outsiders of the system. With this, they also developed a sharper social division by classifying some social categories as untouchables. According to the Brahmanical text, Varna was another criterion for regulating access to wealth. Only one occupation prescribed by fourth Varna, and that was servitude. Servitude means they were supposed to perform the work of manual workers, manual laborers, or to serve the upper three Varnas. A number of occupations were prescribed for the first three Varnas. Historians consider a number of elements when they analyze texts like language, kinds of text, authors, place where they have been composed, content of the text, time when they have been composed, audiences, etc. As Mahabharata actually was written in Sanskrit, there are several other languages of this epic as well. However, the Sanskrit used in Mahabharata is far similar than that of Vedas as Prashastis. In the end, we can say that it was probably widely understood. Historians generally classify the contents of the Mahabharata under two broad heads, narrative and didactic. Narrative section is that which contains stories, and didactic section is that which contains prescription about social norms. Now, another topic is importance of patrilineal. Patrilineal may have been important among elite families. Patrilineal means tracing descent from father to son, grandson, and so on. The elite families included the royal families of the rich. The principle of patrilineal would have been essential for them on account of the following reasons: to carry forward the dynasty. According to Dharmashastra, it is the son who carries forward the dynasty, and daughters cannot do so. That is why all the families wish to have sons and not daughters. This also becomes clear from a couplet of Rig Veda. In this couplet, the father wishes for, at the time of the marriage of his daughter, that she should bear best sons with the grace of Lord Indra. Second, to escape from dispute concerning inheritance. The parents did not like that there should be dispute in their families after their death. In the royal families, the acquisition of throne was also included in the inheritance. After the death of the king, his eldest son was entitled to inherit the throne. Similarly, the property of the parents was equally divided among all the sons. After death of their parents, most of the royal families followed the patrilineal since 6000 BCE. No doubt, this tradition had a diversity. If there was no son, the brother of the king sat on the throne. Sometimes the relatives put forward their claim to sit on the royal throne. In some special situation, the woman like Prabhavati enjoyed the authority. Now next is the kings in early states were invariably Kshatriyas. As a rule, only Kshatriyas can become the kings, but there was some exception. According to Dharma Shastras, only Kshatriyas could be king. However, many important ruling lineages perhaps had different origins. Some people considered the Mauryas to be Kshatriyas, but some Brahmanical texts described them to be of low origin. The Sungas and Kanvas, the immediate successors of the Mauryas, were Brahmins. In fact, the political power went in the hands of those who had support and resources. It did not depend on birth as a Kshatriya. There were other rulers like Sakas who came from Central Asia, but the Brahmins considered them as milekshas, barbarians and outsiders. Similarly, Gautami Putra Sri Satkarni, the best known ruler of the Satvana dynasty, became a destroyer of the pride of Kshatriyas. Thus we see that Sattvanas claimed to be Brahmins, whereas according to the Brahmanas, the kings should be Kshatriyas. But there was an exception to the rule. Talent, merit and hard work also contributed. So rules were not fixed that only Kshatriyas can become the king. Anyone by dint of his merit and talent, like Nandas were Shudras, so anyone can become the king, although rule was to become only Kshatriyas can become the rule. Now next is the next is Buddhist theory of a social contract different from the Brahmanical view of the society derived from Purusharta. According to Purusharta, the Rig Veda, the four Varnas emerged because of the sacrifice of Purusha, the primeval man. These Varnas were Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and the fourth Varna. These Varnas had the fourth Varna Shudra, these Varnas had different jobs. The Brahmins enjoyed the supreme position in the society. They used to study Dharma Shastra. They also taught others. The Kshatriyas were brave warriors who ran the administration and administered justice. The Vaishyas were engaged in trade and agriculture. The fourth Varna, Shudra, was destined to serve the above three Varnas. So there was inequality in the society. In this system, the birth of a person was the basis of her status and prestige in the society. The Buddhist concept was contrary to this Brahmanical notion. They accepted that there was an inequality in the society, but according to them, this inequality was neither natural nor permanent. They also rejected birth as a base of the social prestige. That's all.